Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather with Sim again. I hope you guys are all having a great day so far. And in today's video, we're going to be going over the severe weather for the next few days. And the good news is that we won't have to worry about much in the way of severe thunderstorms. We just have a bunch of marginal threats to talk about. And then after after looking at all of that, we will also be talking about a pattern change that is going to be coming to the United States after a week, and we will likely see this pattern change dominate pretty much the entirety of the United States, and that is pretty much where we're going to see a mega block potential dominate parts of the western United States, but also that warm air will also be able to start surging in the east too as well. So we'll talk about that pattern change as we get closer to the end of this video. But let's go ahead and talk about what's happening today. And as you can see, we do have several marginal threats of severe weather across the United States today. And these aren't very concerning, but we pretty much got one across Portland, Maine. We got another one down here towards Washington and Baltimore. We also got this one mainly across the western Ohio Valley. At least includes some of it, but mainly the eastern Ohio Valley heading into parts of the Great Lakes. We got another one up here mainly across Minnesota and Wisconsin, which is in the upper Midwest, and then we got another one down here towards the southern United States, which will likely be another area to watch for too as well. So we got several areas to watch for, and the main areas we're watching is these two right here, and that's mainly because of the tornado threat. And as you can see, we do have two areas to watch. We got the western Ohio Valley heading into parts of the Great Lakes, and then we got another one right here around the Chesapeake Bay, which does include Baltimore and as well as Washington. So those will be the two areas to watch today. And wind threat, as you can see, we do have a 5% risk for damage and winds across both areas, but we also need to be watching these two for the potential of damaging winds. And then hail threat, we do have a hail threat for all areas, which it doesn't include all of the marginal threats, but it does include a portion of each marginal threat, and so we will need to be watching for some large hail. We're not really concerned about up here towards Maine because the only threat they have is hail, and it's not as bad as damaging winds in a tornado, but I would still be weather aware if you live in any of these marginal threats. So if you do live in one of them, especially the western Ohio Valley heading into the Great Lakes, or this one around Baltimore and Washington, make sure to have your tornado action plan in place just in case, because I do think we could be talking about a tornado or two today, which will be very brief if it were to happen, because it's not a very big tornado threat, but I would still recommend having it in place just in case a tornado does happen today. Now let's go ahead and look at day 2, and as you can see, we do have a marginal risk for severe weather across parts of Florida, and this mainly includes the east coast part of Florida. So not very many areas are included in this marginal risk, but just the western part of Florida. And tornado threat, as you can see, we don't have a tornado threat, which is good news, so chances of a water spout or a tornado are pretty low. Tomorrow, wind threat, we don't have any wind threat, but hail threat, we do have a 5% risk for large hail, so we will need to be watching for a couple of storms coming onto the east coast of Florida, dumping some 1-inch hail in diameter, so that will be the main concern as we do head into tomorrow. But we may also not see any large hail because the threat is pretty low. Let's go ahead and look at the last day now. That is day 3, and as you can see, we do have a marginal risk for severe thunderstorms across portions here of the plains heading into the eastern part of Colorado. So we got another day to keep an eye on. I do think this will start to expand more as we do get more certain on where this is going to be, but as of right now it's just marginal, and this will be on Friday and the Saturday, so this will pretty much be for the beginning of this weekend. But we will also need to be watching some of the other areas too as well as we continue to head throughout the month of June. Let's go ahead and now take a look at the total precipitation, and as you can see, we do have quite a bit of precipitation mainly across the deep south. It is pretty much from from now all the way to June 15th, and we do have quite a bit of precipitation across the deep south, like I said. Not a whole lot of precipitation, but it's still enough to where we will need to be watching. So pretty much this area right here is what we're going to be watching for, and I do apologize for that, but this area right here is the area that we're going to be watching for above average precipitation. So the Ohio Valley looks like it's going to stay drier, which is pretty unfortunate because, I know we did get a lot of rain in the Ohio Valley, but the unfortunate thing about that is that we may, start to be more in a dry period, which I said is pretty unfortunate. So like I said, we will likely see, more in the way of rainfall across the deep south, so pretty much areas across, the deep south, Dixie Alley area heading into the southeast, but also portions here of the plains will be the main area to watch for. And then, like I said, the Ohio Valley northeast looks to see less in the way of precipitation and even parts of the Midwest. So max rainfall across the Ohio Valley and Midwest will probably be just around an inch of rainfall. And then we also do kind of have like this big area right here, in parts of the tropics, which does look pretty concerning, because this kind of tells me that we could have a tropical wave pretty much in this area right here, and this could kind of do a pattern kind of like that. So that's kind of where it does get a little bit concerning, especially if we're gonna have a trough move through the central part of Florida and continue. So Florida, like I said, still needs to be watching for flash flooding, and I said that in the last couple of videos, but it sounds like the European model is now starting to agree on a potential trough moving through Florida. So if you do live in Florida, be aware that there could be some flash flooding, as we could see a trough move through central Florida as it does develop in the Gulf of Mexico, and this will be from now all the way to June 15th. Let's go ahead and now look at the Climate Prediction Center outlook, and this kind of does have to do with our pattern change, where we are still going to continue to see above average temperatures in parts of the western United States. So pretty much this entire area right here is likely going to see above average precipitation, and then this area right here is likely going to see well above average temperatures. And I didn't mean to say precipitation, I meant to say above average temperatures. And then below average temperatures still continue across the eastern United States, and that cold air is starting to move a little bit farther down south. So we're mainly focusing on the lower Ohio Valley and as well as the Tennessee valleys for below average temperatures, but even areas around that will still continue to see below average temperatures too as well. But as we do go ahead and look at the 8 to 14 day outlook with the temperatures, as you can see, that warm air actually does start to surge a little bit to the east as that cold air does start to die down, because the probability of below average temperatures is now pretty low at this point, now that we already have cold air already starting to die down in this area as that warm air starts to surge to the east. And this will pretty much be from June 12th all the way to June 18th, and that's when we're going to likely see that warm air surge towards the east, and we're still going to see slightly below average temperature, but like I said, that warm air is likely going to start surging to the east, which is part of our pattern change, and we'll talk about more of it as we keep looking. But if we go ahead and look at the precipitation, what starts to get a little bit interesting is that we actually are starting to see above average precipitation across the Four Corners region of the United States, and so this is definitely going to be quite the area to be watching now that we know we are starting to get more in the way of rain and storms pretty much across this area right here. And if you're wondering when this is going to be, this is going to be pretty much from June 10th all the way to June 14th, and that's the same time period with the 6 to 10 day outlook on the temperatures. But even the West Coast, which will be another area to watch for, some areas along the West Coast, but also the East Coast especially, is going to be seeing a lot of that precipitation. So as that ridge kind of builds, we will likely see some of that drier weather surge in to parts of the lower Ohio Valley and as well as the Tennessee valleys, as we will likely see more in the way of drier weather. And then this area right here below that line is likely going to see above too as well. So that's a pretty massive pattern change compared to what we have been seeing, and that's because we weren't seeing dry weather across these areas in the past. But the 8 to 14 day outlook on the precipitation, this is pretty much from June 12th all the way to June 18th, and same thing with the 8 to 14 day outlook on the temperatures, or at least the same time period. And as you can see, we will still see a chance for some above average precipitation, mainly out here to the west, which does include Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and as well as Utah. But even areas down here towards the lower Ohio Valley, and I know that's really big, but even areas down here towards the lower Ohio Valley, and as well as the Tennessee, deep south, and as well as the plains, does start to get on some of that drier weather, because that is, a pretty big, decent area that we could see below average precipitation, which, like I said, is pretty unfortunate after, getting a lot of rainfall, because, people like continuous rainfall. The only thing that they don't like is flash flooding. So, like I said, we are going to, start to be more in the way of a dry period back out here towards these areas. And let's look at the temperatures now, okay? We've just got to wait for this to load. And as we do go ahead and take a look at these temperatures, so for today, as you can see, we are seeing temperatures in the 80s and as well as the 70s, and as in getting pretty close to the 100s out here towards the west. But as we continue to take this forward, we'll warm up significantly today with more highs in the 100s back out here towards the west, with some decently warm temperatures out here towards the east. And as you can see, that warm air starts to surge more out here to the east. And look at that, guys. This is pretty much 48 hours out. Look at that, 101 degrees across parts of Florida. That's just crazy, as that warm air literally starts to surge to the east. And look at that, we're even starting to see some 90s too as well. And this is pretty much as we do head into... I just wish this would quit doing that, but this is going to be as we do head into the weekend. But as we continue to take this forward, we start to see those temperatures, continue to surge out to the east, as those will start to create higher triple digits across Florida, which is pretty unfortunate, and then more in the way of 90s across the deeper south. And as we continue to take that forward, our temperatures are likely going to continue to stay quite warm and quite decent out here towards the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. And look at that, we start to see even more in the way of warm air starts to surge out here to the east as we do head into the weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend. And we will likely see this continue for, quite a bit of a time period. And look at that, we even start to see pretty close to 100. We can't rule out some brief 100s out here on the east coast now that we got that warm air surging out to the east. And look at that, even starting to see some 90s too as well. So this will be a pretty big pattern change, like I said. And the reason why we're calling it an omega block change is because we're going to have pretty much a big high pressure system keeping a lot of these areas dry as we continue to see warm moist air surge out here to the east, which is what used to be across portions here of the west, but now we're going to see that surge out here towards the east now. So this is definitely going to be quite a pattern change for sure, guys. After seeing all that below average temperatures out here to the east, we're going to start to see that warm air surge out to the east, bringing more in the way of 90s and 80s, but maybe even some brief 100s in some areas as we continue to head into the middle and as well as the late parts of June. Now, let's go ahead and look at the future severe weather now. And as you can see, we will likely still deal with some severe weather across the plains. And like I said, it's just marginal for the next 3 days, including today. So, not, that bad overall. And as you can see, we kind of do get a brief break from severe weather, not nearly showing as much. And as we continue to take this forward, severe weather starts to ramp up a little bit more across the plains, and I do apologize for that. Severe weather starts to ramp up a little bit more across the plains, and that is pretty much on Sunday, on June the 9th. But as we continue to take this forward, we start to see, more in the way of severe weather pretty much north of the Ohio Valley, including the Great Lakes and as well as the upper plains. And then, we start to see a big time, severe weather event pop up with the GFS small up here to the north, which is looking, a little bit interesting right now because we are heading really far out, and so we will need to be watching for things like that as we continue to head closer. So thank you guys very much for watching my videos. Hope you guys are enjoying them. I did do a live stream yesterday, and this is my first time doing long live coverage to help keep people safe. And I know I wasn't there for, a lot of the tornado warnings and stuff, but that's because my voice started to sound a little bit iffy at the end of the live stream. So that's why I decided to turn the live stream off, because my voice started to sound, a little bit weird at the end, which trying to figure that out. And then I was also starting to get tired too as well, so that's another reason why I ended my live stream too as well. And not only that, I do also think I will continue to go live for more updates like that to help keep you guys safe, and I will also learn more too as well. And that was pretty much just a practice live stream, so you guys don't have to worry about any mistakes during that live stream, because that was just a practice live stream. Get used to figuring out what could be happening and all that stuff. So if you guys do like my live stream, you can smash that like button on my live stream, which I do appreciate, because that's one of the videos that I got the most likes on, so I really do appreciate that. But also subscribe, and as well as click that like button on this video too as well if you haven't already, and we will continue to give you guys more weather updates, and I'll try my best to make these videos look good.